Vice President Mike Pence arrived in Texas on Sunday. It's one of the states that has paused plans to reopen. The vice president spoke at a large indoor event at the First Baptist Dallas Church. Afterward, he met with Governor Greg Abbott to discuss the state's response to the virus. White House Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Deborah Birx joined the vice president on his trip. The two are touring the country's COVID-19 hotspots. Over the weekend, the vice president discussed the recent rise in cases on CBS News' Face the Nation.
What the American people should know is that because of the leadership that President Trump has provided, because of the extraordinary innovation that we have brought to this task, we're in a much better place to respond to these outbreaks than we were 4 months ago.
We are joined now by Nicole Killion at the White House. Nicole, how is the White House explaining the surge in cases in places like Texas, where the vice president is currently visiting? Is it still being chalked up to increased testing?
Well, that's certainly part of the explanation. That's certainly what the vice president has said, including to our John Dickerson on Face the Nation, also noting that a number of these cases are coming from young people under the age of 35. But we did also see the Health and Human Services Secretary, Alex Azar, out on some of the Sunday shows, who also pointed to this increased surveillance with testing as one of the explanations behind this spike. I think one thing worth noting, too, that the vice president has tried to point out is that he doesn't necessarily feel like the spike in cases is tied to reopening. So that is something that we've seen the vice president push back on.
Well, Nicole, the president also retweeted a disturbing video on Sunday morning. It's since been taken down, but it shows an elderly white supporter of his shouting "white power." I want to play an excerpt. Take a listen.
Yeah, you got it, you. White power. White power. There you go, white power. You hear that?
So, Nicole, what does the White House have to say about the president retweeting that video?
Well, first and foremost, the president has since taken down that retweet, but the White House did put out a statement saying that the president did not hear the one statement that was made on the video. What he did see was tremendous enthusiasm from his many supporters. But we have since reached back out to the White House to find out why the president did not listen to the video, because certainly it was clear what was said there, and also to get more clarification as to why he took it down. But certainly it did draw instant scrutiny, both, from Democrats and Republicans. We saw Tim Scott, for instance, earlier today say that the president should take it down, that this was a terrible video. We also have heard from a number of Democrats as well who have condemned the president for even putting a tweet out like this.
So, Nicole, if we gave the president the benefit of the doubt that he didn't hear them say white power before retweeting the video, in the White House's official statement, did they denounce those words?
Well, that, again, is a point that we have followed up with the White House on. What I said to you is pretty much what the statement said, only noting that the president is a big fan of the Villages, which is where this incident took place. But again, we have asked for clarification from the White House on this.
Understood. All right, Nicole, former National Security Advisor John Bolton continued his press blitz with appearances on Sunday morning shows. And Bolton criticized President Trump on many fronts, not least his response to the pandemic. Any reactions from there at the White House?
Well, from that standpoint, obviously we've certainly heard a lot from Ambassador Bolton over the last couple of days since his book has been put out. One thing that he was asked across some of the Sunday shows is whether or not he feels that the president is a clear and present danger or an existential threat. And so Bolton has said, or he did say earlier today, that he does feel that the president is, quote, dangerous enough, that he doesn't think that he deserves a second term, that he does not intend intend to vote for the president in 2020, that he plans to write in a candidate. These are some of the criticisms that we have heard from Bolton over the past couple of days, continuing to be critical of the president's approach, certainly not just in terms of this pandemic, but also on many issues of national security. As of yet, we have not heard any new responses from the White House to Bolton. However, I would note that the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, put out a pretty stinging piece earlier today on a conservative outlet, essentially calling Bolton a White House warlord. Dr. Strangelove also going on just to suggest that Bolton could potentially face jail time for leaking classified information.